Hello. Can anyone hear me? I completely forgot I was supposed to do a live stream. Like, I remembered it till 10 minutes ago and then I completely forgot. And then I suddenly remembered that I'm supposed to do a live stream. So, hold on, let me just tweet this since we are supposed to do that nowadays. Bye. I start typing substance alchemist and gives me substance abuse as a hashtag, which is amusing. Okay, I think that's done. All right, let's wait for 2 minutes, and hopefully more than 3 people will show up, and then we can start. Hello. Yeah, for once I'm keeping the chat open on my phone. This is the boring bit. I wonder what's going to happen if I ever get a webcam. Like, I'll be just sitting here looking thoroughly bored while people slowly show up to my latest performance. Hello. Okay, we'll give it 2 more minutes and then I'll start. So, have any of you used any of the substance tools before? Like Painter or Designer? Have any of you done that? Or used that? Maybe I can just do a green screen with me in a Ferrari. That would be even more interesting. Yeah, I know you've used Alchemist. Oh, okay. So somebody's used Designer. I never got around to Designer. Like, I always look at it, it looks very interesting. But I always go like, okay, I know one node-based software. I think that's more than enough for now. Oh, I can have two Ferraris and I can sit in the middle. I think that would be nice. But yeah, Alchemist is a pretty good sort of middle ground for someone who doesn't want to invest too much time with learning Substance Designer, but you still want to very quickly create a lot of variety of shaders. I think Substance Alchemist finds that really perfect middle ground. I think it's still in beta, right? It's not a final release as yet, because if I look at it, like up here it says version 0.8.1. So it's still a little away from final release, but it's pretty rock solid for now. Like, I haven't had any crashes so far. Okay, so should we start? Give me a yes, I'll start. I know there's like a 10-second delay between me saying something and someone replying. I always put like a little bit of latency in there. It gives you that option. Okay, perfect. Okay, so I made a PowerPoint presentation. So let's take a look at that first. I decided, hey, I should be a little more professional. So I made a PowerPoint presentation. All right, so welcome to my awesome presentation. So the first thing is, what exactly is substance? So substance is essentially, to put it very, very simply, is like a procedural texture. And I believe it was initially built for game engines to have something. Let me just finish this and I'll answer the question. So substance, as I said, is essentially a procedural texture, right? Like it's essentially a format which contains a procedural texture and like multiple variations of the texture. So it has the color map and the height and the specular and the roughness and the metal and the normal and everything compressed into one. And then you can essentially use it in a game engine because it's fairly lightweight, right? So rather than having like 4K maps that you will need to load into your game, you can just use one substance, and it's procedural, so you can also do variations on it. So that's technically, or on a very basic level, that's what substance is. Okay. So as to your question, alchemist essentially just generates substances. So it is compatible with anything that substance is compatible with. So you don't have to worry about that. Like, it's not generating any new format. It's just still generating that SBSAR format that they have. That's basically what it generates. Okay, so the first question is, how do you create a substance? So substance is created using their basic tool called Substance Designer. Okay, so what is Substance Designer? So Substance Designer is a node-based texture and shader generation software which generates, as a final result, can generate substances. But what it can also do is, if your game engine or your render engine doesn't support the substance format, then it can also just generate images, right? So if once you've built your shader and you want to just extract the maps, then you can just it'll give you a color and a metallic, specular roughness, bump, normal, height, ambient occlusion, like whatever shaders, whatever textures you've generated in Substance Designer can either be packaged into a substance shader or be extracted out as images. I believe it goes up to 4K or 8K. I'm not sure about that. I think it goes up to 8K, but I could be wrong. I think it's only up to 4K. Okay, so basically this is what Substance Designer sort of looks like. So you can see here, like once you have generated all the stuff, you have your outputs. Yeah, every time I do it, planes start taking off. Okay, so this is fun. Okay, so like you are outputting base color and normal, roughness, ambient occlusion. You can output a lot more. What Substance Designer also does, which is a lot like Houdini, is that when you are building a substance, you can either just make like a very dumb substance material, or you can create it like a digital asset wherein you can create a lot of parameters for it. Okay, and so once you created these parameters for it, it can very easily, when you take it into a software that supports substances, you can sort of tweak it and move it around and do all of those things with it. So that's essentially what the interface looks like. Okay, so the other software that Substance has, so now I believe now it's just called Substance from Adobe. It used to be called Algorithmic, but Adobe bought it, so now it's just called Substance from Adobe. Okay, so the other software they have is Substance Painter, which is essentially a 3D painting software. But because it is from the same family, can you hear me? I mean, is the plane voice too loud? Not that I can do anything about it. Hold on, yeah. Okay, so what Substance Painter can do very smartly is that if you have generated substances and filters using Substance Designer, it can use those as brushes and alphas and materials and whatever. Okay. So which now brings us to the question of what exactly is Substance Alchemist? Okay. So that's what Substance Painter looks like. Okay. This is actually, we'll be doing this today. Okay. So here's the thing, right? So what exactly is Substance Alchemist? So Substance Alchemist is something that sort of falls, it's not fully substance designer. Okay. A very simple way to explain it is you can, if you took Houdini, I'm guessing some of you are, I'm guessing most of you are Houdini users, or at least have seen Houdini. So imagine if, wow, really? Yeah, like this is the time they have to start taking off. Okay. So imagine if Houdini built, or Side Effects built, a brand new software which was just made of digital assets. Okay, like they kind of realized that, like there are these 100 types of digital assets that people use most often. So what they have done is they've built a brand new software which is just digital assets. Okay. And you can, like, it might seem limited, but let's say if you have digital assets for, let's say, buildings and roads and doors and windows and terrains and everything, and you can just sort of combine them together and very quickly make stuff. Hello. So it still remains, the software itself still remains very, very useful. And the other interesting thing is you keep the software open enough. So if you ever make a new digital asset, you can import it into your software and sort of like improve functionality. So that's technically what Substance Alchemist is. Okay. So the first thing to understand is what can it not do? Okay. So what it can't do is it can't make a texture from scratch. Okay. Which is, like if you look at, say, just give me a second. Okay, so if you look at something like this, okay, which is, this is a phenomenal artist. Like if you want to learn Substance Designer, you should see his videos. He does like brilliant stuff. But like if you see here, he's sort of building things almost from scratch, right? Like look, he actually made a brick. Okay. And then he's sort of modifying it and doing whatever, with it. So this is something that you cannot do with Substance Alchemist. Like you can't start from scratch. Okay. Now, what you can do is you can do a lot of other stuff. Okay. So what it does is, Substance Alchemist comes ready-made with something like about 20 inbuilt base level textures. Okay. And it comes in with like a whole variety of filters. So you can take that base texture and the filters and very quickly sort of generate something much more complex with it. Okay. So that's step number one. The second thing is you can download, or if you have other substances that you've made in Substance Designer and you want to mix them together, then that is another thing that Substance Alchemist can do very quickly. Okay. So it's sort of like the difference between Photoshop and like a node-based compositing tool set, in the sense that sometimes it's just easy to mix two layers rather than, you have like two massive node trees and then you have to merge them together and do other things with it. Sometimes just having two layers and adjusting opacity is what you want. So Photoshop, does have its place. So that's the second thing that Substance Alchemist can do. The third, which is sort of the very cool thing, is it can take, you can take photographs and turn those into materials. Okay, so it can take a photograph and then extract a whole bunch of data from it and generate like a proper material out of it. Depending on how good your photography is, the quality can vary. But I tried something in the morning, it came out pretty decent. I'll show you, how that's done anyways. And then lastly is, if you've seen the Substance Alchemist video, the first thing they ever showed was that color variation trick, which is like you can take a photograph and then it can check the colors of that photograph and then generate variations, which might seem like a gimmick, but Like if let's say you've done a fabric, right, with some kind of embroidery on it, and you very quickly just want to generate color variations out of it, then something like that is actually pretty useful. So this is everything that Substance Alchemist can do. So it is still a fair bit. And the advantage is, if you know Substance Designer, yeah, I think the bitmap to material functionality has now been included into Substance Alchemist. It's still available separately for download, but it's much more sort of advanced inside Alchemist. Okay, the final thing that also makes Alchemist much more or sort of expandable is that you can not only import substances from the substance source or substance designer, but if you made filters in Substance Designer, then you can bring those in and sort of improve or add to the functionality of Alchemist. Okay, so from that standpoint, it is sort of infinitely expandable. It's not limited to just like, okay, we have these 10 filters and that's all you can use. Like, it's not that. If you know someone who knows Substance Designer and they've made some kind of a filter, you can import that into Alchemist and just use it. Like, it's pretty straightforward. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so let me just come to Alchemist. Okay, so this is what Alchemist looks like. The interface is fairly simple. Okay, like if you look on the left, I always get confused with left and right. Okay, thank God I didn't join the army. Okay, so if you look at the left, you have a bunch of things. You have your basic resources. So as I said, like you have these ready-made materials that you get, okay, to start with. Okay, so you have wood, you have plastic, you have cast iron, you have this floor tile material with variations inbuilt into it. Okay, and you can do like so you have a fair variety. Like you have gold in here, you have some kind of fabric. So you have like a ton of stuff that you can actually sort of work with. Okay, you have basic parameters down here. You want to adjust the color of it, you can adjust the color of it. Okay, so you have this, and then if you come, and then here you can also load up other materials. So if you've downloaded some stuff, you can load that up over here. If you have downloaded stuff from Substance Source or something, you can download that from here as well. So this is like your resource area. Okay, and then you have the viewer settings. So you have basic global parameters of what should be the texture resolution and things like that. You have tiling options. Okay, you can do like basic texture rotation. You have different, this is something I like they give you a whole variety of preview meshes, which is cool, right? So you have rounded cubes, you have the basic, you have this fellow here. The shortcuts are very similar to Substance Painter. So if you do shift and right click, you can rotate the environment and all of that stuff, which is very similar to what you have with Alchemist. What you have with Painter. Okay. And then you have the different environments if you want. So if you want to preview like different, sort of stuff, different HDRs, you can do that. You can even load an HDR if you want to. I don't want to, but you can. And then you have different things from the shader standpoint. So you can do displacement. You have displacement quality. Let's do one thing. Let's find something that has displacement. Let's do jeans fabric. Okay. Yeah, this is fine. So if I come close enough, you can see like this is my displacement amplitude, and you have displacement quality. Okay. And then you can also add shadows. I don't usually do shadows because it keeps sort of like calculating, like every time you rotate, you'll see it flicker and it's calculating the quality. Oh yeah, the video will be recorded, so you can watch it later. It'll be there. It'll be on there forever. Okay. Okay, so this is essentially, the basic stuff. So let's just make something here. I don't know. Let's take stone. Okay. Okay, so then you have like the inspire area. This is where you can take, different, you can take images and load up different, it'll generate variations, but we'll do this in the end. And then you have like a area for manage where you can manage different materials, but create is where you want to be. Okay, so create is where you start creating stuff. Okay, so let's start creating something. So I'll start off with, let's say we want to just create some basic, let's say pavement. Okay, we want to create a pavement with some dirt on it. Okay, let's say we want to do that. So what you can do is once you've taken like this basic thing, and most of them will have some parameter or the other. Okay, so if you come in here, you'll see like it has like a variety of stone types. Okay, you can go all the way to granite, and sometimes it modifies the color. So let's keep it to slate. And then you can do like stone color variation if you want that. You can polish the stone. Okay, so it'll become like it'll be less bumpy. Grain intensity can be adjusted. Stone roughness, if you lower it, it becomes shiny. Okay. And then you can also make it metallic. Okay. Okay, so once you've done like the basic, then it becomes way more interesting. So you get it from here as well. Like if you click there, you'll get a whole bunch of filters. But if you don't remember the names, then you can come over here. So they're broken up into a variety of categories. You have weathering, which gives you like dirt and corrosion and stuff like that. You have basic tools for blurring and randomization and adjustment. Scan processing is when you want to take images and turn those into textures. Turn those into materials. Generator is where you can make all your bricks and wood patterns and blah 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 and all of that stuff. And then finish is interesting. Like you can do some pretty interesting stuff with finish, but we'll come back to that. Okay, so let's get started. Let's say I want to turn this into pavement. So I can just click pavement, and there you go. You get pavement. Okay, it's actually it's very easy or simple to make a variety of stuff very quickly. That's the nicest thing about it. Okay, so there you go. See, so you have pavement patterns. Okay, down here you can still control like the displacement amplitude. So you can see the displacement, and then you can define tiling. So if I just want to see one by one, which is good enough for now. Now, the one thing for now, what I've noticed is that it does get slow the bigger your stack gets, because these are, fairly detailed and complex filters. So most of them are fast enough. Some of them can slow things down. Okay, so once you come to pavement pattern, you can do a whole bunch of stuff. Like you can adjust the base material scale. Okay, like if you want to tile it up a lot more, you can do a custom joint material if you want. You can define the height, and we are at it again. Okay, and then you have like you can do brick spacing. Okay, you can do corner roundness, you can do edge roundness, you can do a whole bunch of stuff. And then you have like a ton of variety here. Okay, so you can do slate, you can do basket weave, you can do like herringbone. Okay, like n number of stuff. Okay, so if I come down here and let's say if I turn this red, and you could probably just turn this into like I'll increase the roughness. Yeah, so if I come up here and I go to herringbone, you could probably use this as brick patterns as well, like why not. Okay, and then you have like tilt intensity, so they can sort of tilt like that. Ooh, that looks fancy. Okay, and if you want to see the various channels, then you can somebody's asking me which country I'm from. Okay, India. Okay, so if you come on top to the right, you can see like you can go into the 2D view. So you can see like the normals and the roughness and metallic and height and ambient occlusion if it's generated one. Okay, and then you can also do 2D, 3D. And clicking on any icon will sort of open and close the menu if you want to close it. For now, let's just keep it to 3D. I think that's better. Okay. Okay, so you can do stuff like this, and then you can do like joint luminosity if you want that, surface intensity. So you have like a whole bunch of options. Okay, it's like way more. And then if you want to load a custom texture or something, you can do that as well. Like, I don't know, let's try to see if we can load a custom texture. So I have some textures. Let's see if we want to load this one. Yeah, I don't know where did it go? Did it do something? I don't know where it went. Hold on, let's go to base color. Yeah, there you go. See, so now you can sort of, modify that if you want to. Okay, so you can do stuff like this, and then let's say we want to add some more things on top of it. So I can just come in, let's try to add some dust on it. Yeah, there you go. Ooh, that looks nice. And then we can sort of lower the quantity and adjust the depth and maybe define the color if you want. You also have some pretty interesting things, like you can do color match, so it can actually like match the color. Okay, this might not seem useful right now, but there are times when it can be, very, very useful. You can define the roughness. So if for some reason you want the dirt to be shiny, you can sort of, like keep it low roughness so it will be shiny, which will look stupid, but you can do that. Okay, you can do like prevent on slope, which is interesting. So you can define like an angle for it. And you can do spread contrast, like if it has to be softer or more contrast, stuff like that. So you have like a whole bunch of things that you can do. Okay, they will not stop flying the planes. Okay, and then let's say just for some stupid reason, let's add moss on this. So we can add moss on this. There you go. Okay, so we can define the spread of it. You can define covering. You can define like a whole bunch of stuff. Honestly, like when I started to use this, I think if you're into something like architectural visualization, you could probably replace your entire texture library with Substance Alchemist. It is actually that powerful. Okay. Yeah, let me just remove that. I don't want this. Okay. So you can do stuff like this, and then let's say I'm happy with this. So what I can do is I can just I can save this. So I can say save material, and let's call it herringbone, and I'll save it down there to my collection. And then let me just open up Octane. Okay, I'm not opening up Houdini today. I'll just work with Octane. And then let's say I just want to export this. So I can come in here and click on export, and you can either export it as a substance archive, or you can export them as basic images. So let's export them as JPEG at say 2K, and we'll pick up a folder. So let's come in to Alchemist, into textures. So I'll save it here, and it'll save it, like it'll make a subfolder called herringbone and save it into that. So I can just do export, and it'll just export the textures for me. So if I like open that, see, you have your basic stuff here. And then if I come in here, let's say just for fun purposes, I'll take a mesh and I will load up something. Okay, give me a second. I'm going to come in here and load up a grid. Okay. And let's just say I want to bring in that particular shader. So I'm going to create a material. Traditionally, you will be happier if your software supports the standard PBR workflow of the metalness roughness workflow. Otherwise, you have to sort of work things out and do different things. But yeah, okay. So I'm just going to take a universal material, and then we'll take an RGB image. I'll come to Alchemist, textures. Yeah, so let's start with herringbone, color, and we'll connect it to albedo. There you go. Okay. And then I want to get, like, let's also pick up a displacement. So we'll take a texture displacement, and then pick up we'll pick up a grayscale image, and yeah, there's my height. So let's plug that in, and we'll plug this into displacement. And yeah, let's set this to 4K. Yeah, there you go. So I can just see. Yeah, and then we can pick up the rest. So let's pick up another grayscale image, and this is roughness. Okay, so I'll just pick that into roughness, and we'll pick up an RGB image and pick up the normals. Yeah, and let's also put this into bump. Okay, there you go. Yeah, the display, like Octane has terrible displacement. So let's remove that for the time being. I think the normal is coming inverted. Yeah, okay. Yeah, not the best example, but there you go. Like if you want to just, get in your basic thing here, you can very easily do that. Let me just get the specular to 0. Yeah, there you go. That's better. Okay. Yeah, so at a basic level, it is really, really simple. Like depending on whatever render engine you're using, you can just export the maps and use it there. Okay. So let's do a few more things. Okay. So this is one thing you can do. Now let's come back and we'll create a new material. Okay. So similarly, like let's say if you want to create wood planks. Okay. So I can just come back again to the resource and I can pick up, let's pick up wood. Okay. So I'll pick up European ash and we can drag and drop it here. Okay. So we have this. And then you can do some very interesting things with this. So if I come into filters and you get this fancy little thing called wood finish, wherein you can do like a bunch, like you can do like a varnish on it. If you want to, you can do a matte varnish on a normal varnish. Okay. And then you can make it old or you can make it sawn. So it can do stuff like this. You can make it raw. So you can do like a whole variety of things. And then I'll temporarily hide it. And then let's say I want to add something like, what do we want? Yeah, a parquet generator. Okay, so there you go. See, you can make, like, I think the displacement is way too much. Yeah, so you can do stuff like this. Okay, we can also like come down here and maybe make it slightly shiny. So there you go. See, now we have like shiny and we can make it slightly darker. And you have like your parquet amount, like your planks amount, how much you want. Okay. You have offset values, so you can offset it. You have bevel intensity, things like that. And then you have like a whole variety of them. So you can do planks like these. You can also do like plank contrast. Okay. And then you can also do like a little bit of normal variation. Okay. And then on top of that, if I want, see, so this is what the wood finish does to the whole thing now. So if I come in here and I make it, say, varnish, see, there you go. Okay. So this is like without the wood finish, and then this is with. Okay. So it adds like a little more subtle detail to the whole thing. So the point being, it is very easy to make, a whole variety of stuff with it. And it's also very, very simple. Okay. So just to give you like an example, like a lot of these materials down here, like if I just, if I click on this, see, this is something I made yesterday. So just to kind of like, adjust that. Okay, so which is essentially the same thing, which is I just took like a brown oak and then added a parquet on top of it and then did a wood finish. Okay, and then this is pretty interesting. So you get something called color variation. Okay, Color variation is one of the slower filters to calculate. Okay. Are people still there? I don't know. Somebody should say something every once in a while. Otherwise, I just feel like I'm, sitting here and no one is around. But yeah, so what color variation does is you can pick colors and then it can just, do variations on your base material. Okay. So it's pretty easy to do that. See, so you can sort of go from, this to that very, very easily, without any problems. Okay. And then what you also get is something called adjustment. So adjustment is really good. Okay. You should usually do an adjustment at the end of things, because what it does is, let me just adjust this. Okay. And you can sort of like from down here also, you can just adjust the tiling if you want to see it, tiled up a bit more. Yeah, so what, let me just remove that. So if I bring in an adjustment here, where is it? Yeah, adjustment. And adjustment is sort of like, is very much like the image adjustment stuff from Photoshop, which is you can adjust, you can sharpen up the image if you want. You can reapply color, so it will make it black and white, and then you can just choose a color. Okay, so it's fairly quick to do that. You can adjust, you can adjust contrast. So if you wanted more contrast, okay, you can adjust saturation. You can adjust hue. So if you just want to shift it around, you can adjust the intensity of the overall thing. Okay. And then in reflection, you can do other things. Like if you don't want it to be as shiny, so I can like lower or increase that. See, so now it's, more matte finish. Let me just adjust that to 0 again. Yeah. You can adjust the contrast in the specularity. See, so you have like, this is just everything is shiny, and then you can, adjust those things. You can also adjust the height amount. So we can sort of, see, so you can like adjust sharp detail and smooth elevation detail. Okay, so you can do stuff like this. Okay, and you can like overall adjust the height elevation if you want to. And what's interesting is you can transfer this to the normal. So it will overall adjust the normal again with that. So like if I do a 2D, 3D, and let me just close that for a second. If I look at the normal here, and then if I say adjust, apply modification to normal, you'll see like this changes. Okay. Yeah, so I don't want to do that. That looks very stupid. Yeah, I think that is smooth elevation stuff. And then you can also do ambient occlusion based on a height map. So you can define like the depth. I don't think there's much here for it to do anything with. Okay. But yeah, so this is really nice. And then let's say if I make it black and white and adjust the contrast a bit, so that will help out my color variation. So I'll put it below here, and then I can do color variation. And see, there you go. So it does some really fancy color variation with that. Okay. And then finally, if you want to add dust on top of it, so you can do, things like those. So it's very easy to do these kind of bump maps. What do you mean? Like somebody wrote bump maps. Okay. It's generating all of it automatically. Like when you bring in any of these filters or shaders, the height is the bump map, but the height is also the displacement map. So I think it's just height and normal, so something like that. Okay, I think you can generate a separate bump map. Hold on a second. I forgot to show one section. Yeah, so if you come into material settings and you have things here, yeah, I don't think it has a bump. It just has a height. Yeah, it doesn't have a separate bump map. Okay, anyway, this is essentially it. Okay, so, that's as far as you can do a lot more, right? I won't go into each and every one of these things because there's like way too much stuff here. Let's do one more just for fun. Okay, so I'll create a new material and let's try to do like let's try to do a jeans fabric. Okay, so I'll just drag and drop it here. Yeah. And then let's say I want to add some pattern on top of it. So I can just come in here and then maybe I can take, so this is interesting. You can take like an embroidery, and what an embroidery wants is it wants an image. So a black and white image preferably. So if I come in here and I take like this triangle and I can just adjust the image size. Let me see this as a plane. Yeah, and then tell it to pick image color. See, there you go. So what it does is it picks that triangle and it kind of just, made something out of that. Like if I look at it here, let me just lower. Yeah, see. So you can take a black and white texture and then it can generate like an embroidery out of it. Okay, let me just see if I can pick up something else. This is very basic, so it's not going to do anything fancy with it, but there you go. Okay, you can define like a whole bunch of stuff with this. Anyways, so what I can do with it is, let's say if I pick up, yeah, so you can do like textile wear, which is very interesting. See, so you can actually like wear down the texture if you want. So if I come into textile wear, you can do like, you can adjust the fabric wear. You can even give it tears if you want to do that. And then you can define like the fabric angle of how it's tearing. You can define the scale of it. Okay, and then let's say on top of this, I can take a pattern generator. And so it just generates a pattern. Let me put it below the textile wear. There you go. Okay, and then I can just, do something like this. And then you have like, this has a whole bunch of it. Like if I come into like, you get stripes, you get thin stripes, you get dot matrix, you get hatch. Okay. Oh, there you go. See, so you can like, if I come in here and I can just say cloth, see. So it's, so this is stuff that you can do so the point being, it's essentially just a really nice playground to make a variety of tileable textures very quickly, without too much of a headache. Okay. So this is one thing that it can do. Okay. The other thing it can do is, again, I'll just create a new material here. Okay. Is if you have downloaded, okay, hold on. I want to go back to preview sphere. Okay. So if you've downloaded some substances, so what you get is if you have, if you are subscribed to Substance Designer, then you get access to Substance Source. Okay, you get like a certain number of points, and with those points you can download these. If you want to download a lot more, you have to subscribe separately to Substance Source. But I don't usually use it very often, so I have a fair bit of points. Anyway, so you get access to a whole bunch of stuff, and you can download these, and you'll get it in a specific format, which is this. So it's a SBSAR, that's the custom format. And you can load these up and then you can sort of layer them together. So just to sort of show you a very simple thing is I downloaded this thing, which is essentially just a plaster, and it has some basic parameters. Okay, so I can define like pattern density, and I have pattern intensity, okay, and whatever, like grunge intensity and roughness, okay. And then I also have this thing which is like a cracking, which is like paint peeling off. So I can drop that on top of it and see. Okay, hold on, maybe this is not the best material. Let's take this one. Yeah, so I have like this as a basic thing. Let's make it yellow. God, that looks terrible. Okay, hold on a second. Yeah, okay, this is fine. And then I have like my crackling paint on top of it. And then you can also, like, you can mix it in a bunch of ways. So you can do like a height offset, so it will sort of, come in from below and mix into that. You can define the contrast of how it's supposed to mix. Okay. And then you can also, this is probably the best thing that it has, which is you have this thing called bottom material color match. So if I take this up, you can see that it automatically matches to the bottom color. Okay. So what happens is that even if you're mixing them and you have two separate colors, it will very easily match it. So you don't have to worry about it not matching. Okay. See, so there you go. So that makes it, that fits it in a lot better than what was happening before. Okay. Now, I don't think every substance material will have parameters. Like, it depends on the creator who's made it. Sometimes they will have parameters, sometimes they won't. But if you just want to sort of like, mix things together, it is really sort of easy to do that. And then you have different ways of mixing. So you can do a height blend, you can do a color blend. So color blend is like, I need to pick the color that is down there. Okay, let's try something a little crazy. Okay, so I'm going to create, okay, let's try this. I'm going to take a parquet pattern out of this. Okay, and then I'll just give it like a really high contrast and maybe lower this amount. Okay, this is a stupid idea, but let's just see this. Okay, and then what I can do is I can open up the crackling, this thing, and we can pick up like a brown. Okay, so something that is, maybe closer to that. Yeah, I think that's okay. And you can adjust the tolerance and hopefully it will show up. See, there you go, it's showing up a little bit. Yeah, I don't know. I need to pick that exact color. Is there a way to pick it? Yeah, there's no color picker. Okay, I think it would be nice. Yeah, there you go. Okay. It showed up for a second. There you go. So once it finds that color, it will sort of peek through that. Yeah, so you can sort of like, as it samples through that and it comes into a place, it will sort of, start peeking through that. Keying type, let's do RGB. Yeah, okay, there we go. See. So now it's finding just that exact color. See, so as it is moving through that color, it's showing up in specific places. Oh, that's fancy. Okay. And you can sort of just like define the tolerance amount. So you can do stuff like this as well. This is a little weird, but there are a whole bunch of things. Yeah, so that kind of stuff you can't do. Okay, like you can do a custom mask. Like if you come to custom mask, and then I can click here and I can take a black and white image. So I can take this. There you go. Okay, which is stupid, but there you go. So now it's like if I come into plane, and there you go. See, so it's now mixing based on that particular image. So you can pick up a custom map, but it doesn't have any kind of inbuilt mask generator. Okay, like it doesn't have those things. So that's all stuff that is stored for Substance Designer. Okay, like this is much more, as I said, like this is like a whole bunch of filters and you just play with the filters. Okay, maybe over time they will improve it more and add more stuff to it, but right now it's not there. Okay. Yeah, this doesn't look too bad. Okay. Okay, so this is one more thing that you can do. Okay. Now let's do one final thing. Actually, two more things we need to do. Okay. So we're going to do, I'll create a new one. And we'll take a look at how to create a tileable texture from a photograph. Okay. Which is like a really fancy thing that they can do. I'm going to do it in a fairly basic way. So if you come down, okay, one more thing before we kind of continue. If you have textures and you want to just bring them in and build a basic material and then do stuff on top of it, you can do that as well. Okay, which essentially means like if you come here to tools and you'll find something called base material. So if I drop a base material, and here you can sort of load up everything that you want. So if I take base color, and if I come into textures, let's say if I want to create like this brick pattern. Okay, so I can take my brick and then I can pick up, or hold on, let's pick up this guy. Okay, so I have this, let me lower. Okay, and then I want to do roughness, so there's roughness, and then I can do ambient occlusion, so this is ambient occlusion, and then I have the normal. Okay, so I can pick up normal, and then finally I have height, so I can pick up height. Yeah, there you go. Okay, and then let's say if on top of this I want to, like, add some dirt or dust or something like that, then I can very easily just do those things. So if I want to add dust on top of this, so if you have some basic texture or like the whole shader, and then you just want to very quickly make or add some stuff on top of it and do variations out of it, or maybe like if I just want to adjust color of this, so I can just come in here, maybe if I want it to be slightly brighter, a little more contrast, see, and maybe sharpen it a bit more, maybe increase the saturation. Okay, let's do like black and white. Let's adjust the contrast a bit. Yeah, okay, and then I can take something like a color variation, and drag and drop it on top of that. And then I can say, okay, I want like 4 colors, and then just pick colors. Okay, see, so I can take a second one, say this will be like brown or something. Okay, let's make that green. I think that could be good. Okay. Oh, sorry, went to the wrong one. Color variation is slow to calculate, you should remember that. Okay, and then maybe let's try red. Let's see where that goes. Yeah, see, so you can very quickly just, I can take something very basic that I had, or like I had an existing texture, and I think 3 is good enough for this. Okay, and then I can like drop in some additional dust on top of that. See, so I started off with this, which was just the absolute basic thing I had, and then I can very quickly, just do some basic color variation and stuff on top of it and get a completely different shader out of it. Okay, so you can do a whole bunch of stuff very, very easily with it. Okay, okay, now let's do that other thing. Okay, which is I'll create a new material. And then what I want to start off with is I took a photograph of the tiling in my terrace. Okay, so I'll just take a bitmap to material, and what it wants is you can do like one input, and then this is the input that I have. Okay, so when I take it, it automatically, you can see my feed there. Okay, but it very easily sort of just brings it in, and it tries to calculate, so it gives a little bit of like displacement and normal and stuff. Okay, so now what I can do is I can come into I can do light removal, so it will try to remove the light from this. So I can do like equalize, so there was light coming in from that side, so I can just equalize the highlights. You can equalize the shadows. Okay, and then I can sort of like adjust the equalizer radius. Okay, and you can also try to remove ambient occlusion from it and light removal strength. So you have a bunch of stuff that you can do. Okay, then I can take a crop, and yeah, I think it's done it a little too much. Okay, so let's just come into the crop, and then let me hide this. So what I can do is I just want a 3x3. So I can like move this out, till I get till about there, and then this side till it's about, yeah, here, And then, yeah, and then maybe just rotate it slightly because we want the line to match. Yeah, so this is essentially a tile anyway, so it's easier to work with. Okay, so this is good. And then I can come into the filter. I can say stop edit. And I can take an equalizer. So it will further equalize it. See, so equalizer is actually pretty nice. See, so it's sort of like, it really sort of, made sure that everything matches. Okay. And then at the end of this, so you can do like more stuff with it. You can try to do a normal to height, but like, let's just see what it generated so far. So you have like your base color, you have normals, you have height. Let's try to do a normal to height, see what that does. Yeah, that did. So there you go. So this is without normal to height. This is with normal to height. Okay. It also generated like an ambient occlusion in there. Okay. So it did a fair bit of stuff. And then what I can do is I can try to do an adjustment on this. So I can take an adjustment here and we can do post sharpen. We can adjust the contrast. Maybe up the saturation a little bit. Yeah, see, there you go. So that's starting to look better. And I can do the luminosity a little bit. Okay, let's come into reflections and we'll lower. So we'll make it slightly shiny. Yeah, and then we'll come into height. And I just want to, I want to lower the height scale. I think it's a bit too much. Okay, you can do like the detail balance, we'll do sharp. Okay, and then we can try to, yeah, okay. Yeah, there you go. That looks a little bit better. Like that was looking a little too bumpy. Yeah, and then you can similarly try to adjust ambient occlusion accordingly. See, there you go. Okay. And then if you want, we can finally just say reapply color. So it will become black and white. Okay. Maybe adjust the contrast a bit more. Yeah, not that much. Okay. And then we can, again, you can just try to do like a color variation on top of it. Color variation is a very nice tool. It does a lot of, it can very easily give you some really interesting stuff. Okay, let's make that red. Okay, and then let's make this blue or something. Okay, no, let's make that white. I think that's like the base color that I have. Okay, and then let's make this. Okay, I think the equalizer is still causing some issues. Yeah, no, the color variation is not a good idea, but let's turn that off. But yeah, the point is this requires more work. This is fairly basic, but you can do it pretty easily. Okay. So the idea here is it's actually letting you do a lot. It's not the full-blown Substance Designer, but then Substance Designer also has a much higher learning curve. Okay, this is something where you can do variations a lot quicker than you could do before. Okay, okay, so just to give you a small example. Okay, let me see if I can open that up. Okay. And yeah, so the bitmap to material functionality, I haven't tried it, a lot. There are videos out there which show it, in much better light. This is, first of all, it's not a really great photograph. Okay, but you can do a lot of stuff with it. If that is the only thing you want from this, if the B2M stuff is the only thing you want, then it's sort of using a really small section of it, but you can do a lot with it. Okay, like overall, I think for doing like basic tileable material generation, it's really, really good. Okay, like you can go through variations very, very quickly. Okay, so just to give you like a final thing of the one thing that they had shown, which I haven't shown as yet, is this thing called Inspire. Okay, so if you come to Inspire, and then I'm going to pick up, let me try to pick up something. Okay, so I'm going to pick up, hold on. Should I pick up this? Okay, give it a second. Yeah, okay. So this is the material that I had made. Okay, but let's say like if I just want to create, variations out of this. So let's bring it to a preview sphere. You just increase the tiling a little bit. Yeah, okay. And then what you can do is you can click here, and let's say if I load up this image, okay, it's actually pretty simple, right? So it has multiple ways you can define how many colors it should extract, okay? And then once it's extracted the colors, you can just say generate variation. And it'll take those colors and it'll just generate a variation out of it. Okay, like if I click there, see, okay. Or what you can also do is you can say create one variation per color. So if I click generate variation, now it will create, like there are 7 colors here, it will create 7 variations. Okay. So like you can click on any one of them and it will just show you, see, so you have this or, whatever. So it's very easy to just sort of build up materials very, very quickly, or just getting color variations very quickly. Okay. Like the point is, it might seem gimmicky, but I kind of realized like if you just want to experiment and get a lot of color variations, you can go through it very fast. Okay, and then just come to export and export the texture, and there you go. Like you have a brand new material. Okay, so if you want to create like a variety of wood patterns and things like that, it makes life very, very easy. And also because you can also export this as a substance material itself, you can also use it in Substance Painter. Okay, so that is also something that you can do. Okay, so just to show you like an example, not of that, but like this was a scene I was doing yesterday, which I had posted up on this thing. Let me just lower the size of this. I'll do like 960, 720. Yeah. So this was something I did just as an experiment. The original scene is from Daz. But what I did was I decided to build all the materials for this using Substance Alchemist. Okay, so leaving out the book and the paintings, everything else is Substance Alchemist, right? So if I just zoom in here, and we'll just focus on that. Okay, so this is made entirely in Substance Alchemist. Okay, so there's a base leather texture and there's a pattern generator, and you can just combine those together and build a leather texture. Or then you have like the wood texture here, which is again built in Alchemist. I decided to build like a whole bunch of cushion textures. So if you come in here, so like all of these cushion textures were built in Alchemist, and it took me like a total of I think they would have to change a lot because this is completely layer based, right? So if they would have to take Substance Designer, turn it into this, they would have to probably build like a completely different module into that. I don't know, like I don't know what is easier. Okay. And then of course, like even this stuff is like even the wallpapers and everything, like all of this is also Alchemist. So you can go through a lot of variations, and actually, so this is a total of about like an hour and a half of work of just, like building textures and just, exporting it here and applying them. But I can see a lot of usage for it, like, especially as I said, like if you're into architectural visualization, I think this is something that can, ease up your work a lot. Okay. Like if you want to do like, 20 different wood patterns for some image, okay, or for some project, they can go through it very quickly without having, without having a lot of headache about like, okay, now I need a new library, I need to download more textures. This gets you there much more quicker. Okay. Um, so yeah, that's essentially it. Okay. I don't know. Was this helpful? Was this something that I don't like? The point of me doing Substance Alchemist wasn't really so much as uh, I wanted to do Substance Alchemist, but I wanted to sort of just one of the things I wanted to do this year was to try and explore more softwares beyond Houdini. Because this is the great thing about softwares like Designer, Painter, Alchemist, or whatever, is that they're essentially support softwares, right? Substance Alchemist on its own is useless, like because eventually you're generating shaders and textures which have to be used in a 3D software. So whether you're a Houdini user or a Max user or whatever, at the end of the day, softwares like Alchemist are essentially like support softwares. So I wanted to just sort of expand my horizons and explore more things and make videos and tutorials on more things. So Alchemist was something that was I looked at it, I was like, hey, this looks simple and fun, which is actually pretty high up on my list. Like one of the things I prefer with technology is make it easy to use, like give it functionality, but make it easy to use and simple to use. Okay, like I don't like that really high learning curve. Okay, like some softwares need that, but then with something like this, I'm like, hey, this is really simple, and if you are just a basic user, you can get started with this in like an hour. That's great. So which is what I prefer. So there's this, and the other thing that's on my mind is Quixel Mixer. So in a couple of weeks, I'll try to do like a demo on Quixel Mixer as well. Quixel Mixer is a whole different beast. Like that's a proper uh, texture generator like Substance Designer, but it's more layer based. So if you want to like start from scratch and build stuff, Quixel Mixer is they're trying to build it as a rival to Substance Designer. Okay, it's not there yet. It still needs a ton more functionality, but it's pretty impressive, like what it can do. Uh, okay, so I guess that's basically it. Uh, was this helpful? I don't know. I'm not sure if this was helpful. Okay, but yeah, thank you for attending, and I hope this was helpful. And well, next time I'll do something else. Okay. Okay. So I don't know what I'll do next time. I haven't since I'm working on my next training, I'm not really doing a lot of Houdini stuff. So something like this just gives me time away from Houdini. Okay. So yeah, so if you oh, hi Virendra. I didn't know you were around. Okay. Oh yeah, you are there. Okay. Yeah, I just saw your other comment. Okay. Okay. So yeah, I think overall it's a pretty impressive impressive tool set for just building tileable textures and building shader variations and just in general building stuff very very quickly. Okay, so yeah, I hope it was useful. Okay, so yeah, that's essentially it, and I will see you again next time when I do something different. Okay, okay, bye. Let me just stop the stream.